Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really close look at the inner workings of the European Union. Think of it less like just a set of rules and more like a complex, clockwork mechanism.
That's a great analogy.
We're diving into the executive part, the main engine, and then the crucial checks and balances.
Yeah.
The courts, the financial bodies, and the other supporting bits.
Exactly. And our goal here is to take those sometimes pretty dense class notes you have on these EU institutions,
Yeah, they can be a lot.
the Commission, the courts, the financial bodies, and just break them down. Make it clear, actionable knowledge. We're focusing on, structure, their roles, how they're held accountable.
Simple English, B1, B2 level, ideally.
Trying for that, yes. So you walk away really getting how these pieces, fit together.
Right. Clarity is the mission. We're starting with the institution that, everyone seems to agree, is the real engine room, the one that gets the laws started.
The European Commission.
The European Commission. Our notes even say it holds kind of monopoly on proposing legislation.
Okay, let's unpack this engine. It's defined in Article 17 of the Treaty on European Union. It's the EU's main executive arm, and its whole purpose is promoting the general interest of the Union. Its power really comes from two main things.
Okay, pillar one must be that legislative power you just mentioned, the monopoly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
For most EU laws, yeah. If the Commission doesn't put forward a proposal, it just doesn't happen.
Wow. Okay.
But pillar two is maybe even more significant constitutionally. The Commission is officially the guardian of the treaties.
Guardian of the treaties. Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means it's the Union's internal enforcer. Its job is to check that every member state is actually respecting and, crucially, complying with EU law.
Okay, so what if a country isn't complying, if they're, ignoring an EU directive or something? How does the Commission enforce that?
They use something called the infringement procedure. It's a formal legal process, basically, where the Commission can challenge a member state in court if needed. So the Commission isn't just an executive dealing with external stuff like, handling international trade talks based on what the Council decides.
Right.
It's also the legal police force, you could say, making sure the whole system, especially the single market, actually works like it's supposed to.
Okay, so if the Commission is this powerful executive, who actually runs it? The notes highlight it operates as a collegiate institution. What does collegiate mean here?
That's a really vital term. It means the commissioners, there's one from each member state, so 27 right now,
Okay.
and they serve a 5-year term. Same as the Parliament. They have to act as a team. They share collective responsibility for all the decisions the Commission makes.
That makes sense. But what's interesting reading the notes is the background to how many commissioners there are. Article 17 apparently first planned to cut the number down.
Yeah, to 2/3 of the member states, with a rotation system.
So not everyone would have one all the time.
Exactly. The idea was probably to keep the Commission a bit more streamlined, maybe less unwieldy as the EU grew.
But that didn't happen.
No. Our sources confirm that the European Council, that's the heads of state or government, decided back in 2009 to just keep it as is, one commissioner per member state.
Why do you think they did that?
Well, the notes suggest it guarantees that even though the Commission is supposed to be independent, every member state feels like it has a permanent voice, someone on the inside of the executive. It's a political reality.
Okay, that leads right into this core tension, the need for independence. If they're nominated or suggested by their home country, how can they truly act only for the Union's interest?
That is the central challenge and the safeguard. Commissioners must be chosen for their general competence, sure, but the absolute legal requirement is that they guarantee significant independence.
How is that guaranteed?
The treaties explicitly say they cannot seek or take instructions from the national governments, or from anyone else, really, and they can't have other paid jobs. They are individuals sworn to the Union, not, national delegates.
Okay, that's the principle. So how do these independent people actually get appointed? Article 17, paragraph 7, lays out this pretty complex process. It really shows how the European Council and the European Parliament are linked.
It's definitely a delicate political dance. Two main steps. Step one is all about the leader, the president of the Commission.
Right.
The European Council proposes a candidate. They need a qualified majority for that. And crucially, when they pick someone, they have to consider the results of the latest European Parliament elections.
Ah, okay. So the election results matter for the Commission president. That's what the notes call the fiduciary relation.
Exactly. Fiduciary means based on trust. The Council suggests a president linked somehow to the election outcome, And that president then needs the trust of the parliament that was just elected.
Makes sense.
So parliament then holds a vote. They need to elect the proposed candidate by a majority of all their members.
Okay, president sorted. Then step 2.
Step 2 is filling out the rest of the team, the other commissioners. The council, working together with the president who's just been elected, adopts the list of the other commissioners.
And where do those names come from?
From suggestions made by each member state.
Okay. But before they all get the final stamp of approval, Parliament gets another go, right? The notes mention heavy scrutiny.
Oh, absolutely. This is a big accountability moment. Parliament's own internal rules demand public hearings for every single commissioner candidate.
Public hearings, like on TV.
Well, streamed online usually. They go before the relevant parliamentary committee.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the agriculture candidate goes to the agriculture committee and so on. And they get grilled.
Grilled on what?
On their policy ideas, their competence, their background, and critically on their independence. It's basically a very public job interview.
Okay, intense.
It is. And then finally, the whole package. The president, all the commissioners, plus the high representative for foreign affairs, is put to a collective vote in Parliament. They need a qualified majority to approve the whole team.
And then they're appointed.
Then the European Council formally appoints them, again, by qualified majority. So Council proposes president, Parliament elects president, Council and president elects proposed team, Parliament vets team, Parliament approves team, Council appoints team. Quite the process.
It really is. Which raises the obvious question. If Parliament approves of them, can Parliament also, fire them? How do you hold this powerful executive accountable?
Good question. The ultimate check is the motion of censure.
Ah, okay. Article 234, TFEU.
That's the one. And remember that principle of collegiality, because they're a team.
Right, collective responsibility.
The censure motion is aimed at the whole commission. You can't just censure one problematic commissioner. It's all or nothing.
So tell us about how that works. Is it easy to do? The notes suggest it's quite difficult.
Extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Deliberately so, you could argue. The bar is set very high. First, it has to be proposed by at least 1/10 of all the members of the European Parliament, MEPs. Then, there's a mandatory waiting period. They have to wait at least 3 days before the vote happens.
Yeah.
Maybe a cooling off period.
Right.
And the vote itself requires a double majority. You need 2/3 of the votes actually cast, and that number must also represent more than half of all the MEPs.
Wow. 2/3 of votes cast A and D, a majority of the total members. That sounds tough to get.
It is. It prevents, a temporary or unstable coalition from just bringing down the executive on a whim.
So what happens if, against the odds, a motion of censure does pass?
If it's approved, the whole commission must resign. The team falls together. Simple as that.
Has it ever happened?
Our notes are clear. This instrument, while powerful on paper, has never actually been successfully used.
Never.
Never. The closest call was the Santer Commission back in 1999. They faced likely defeat in a censure vote over mismanagement allegations and chose to resign before the vote actually happened. That was a huge institutional moment.
A really important point to remember for exams, then. Okay, let's try a quick recap for Section 1. The Commission. It's the independent executive. It's the guardian of the treaties. It holds that powerful legislative initiative. Its appointment process deeply links it to the Parliament's confidence. But the motion of censure, while almost impossible to use, is the ultimate accountability mechanism designed to keep the executive stable.
Well put. So if the Commission is the mainspring, the engine of the clock,
right,
now we need to look at the parts that ensure it runs correctly, legally, and are financially soundly. We're moving to the judicial and financial institutions.
Okay. And what's striking here from the notes is that these next 3 bodies aren't just like secondary agencies. They have real constitutional weight.
Absolutely. Article 13 of the TEU explicitly lists the 7 core institutions of the EU. And the source material confirms these 3. The Court of Justice of the European Union, CJEU, the European Central Bank, ECB, and the European Court of Auditors, ECA. Are right there on that list.
So they're fundamental parts of the structure.
Giving them that status is crucial. It underpins their independence and their authority.
Okay, let's start with the judges, the CJEU. This is the ultimate interpreter of EU law, right? What do the notes tell us about its legal basis?
Well, the main rules are in the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, Articles 251 to 287. But for studying, the document you really need to remember is Protocol 3.
Protocol 3?
Yes. This protocol is effectively the statute of the ECJ. It contains all the nitty-gritty details, including the main procedural rules, how cases are brought, how the court operates.
So the treaty articles set the scene, but Protocol 3 is like the detailed instruction manual for the court.
That's a good way to think about it. And its position as a core institution means the CJEU is the final check, ensuring everyone, member states, and the other EU institutions, like the Commission, follows the law.
Got it. Now, onto the two big financial institutions mentioned, the European Central Bank, ECB, and the European Court of Auditors, ECA.
And again, the key point from the notes is that both are listed as core institutions under Article 13 TEU. That confirms their essential constitutional role.
Right. Now, the notes don't seem to go into exhaustive detail on everything they do, but they do confirm their institutional status. We know their basic roles are vital checks on executive power, don't we?
We do. The ECB, for example, handles monetary policy for the Eurozone. That function has to be independent from political influence, whether from the Commission or national governments.
And the ECA, the Court of Auditors, that's like the EU's financial watchdog.
Exactly. It's the union's external auditor. They check if the EU's money has been spent legally and properly.
So the ECA basically audits the EU's books, checks the accounts, makes sure the executive of the Commission mostly, I guess, used the money correctly.
That's the critical function, yes. So by listing both the ECB and the ECA as core institutions, the treaties give them the constitutional clout they need to hold the executive financially accountable. Their independence is key.
Okay, quick synthesis for Section 2. Key terms. Article 13 TEU, remember that list of the 7 core institutions in Protocol 3, which is the detailed rulebook for the Court of Justice, and the exam tip. It's their constitutional status as institutions that really guarantees their authority and independence, making them effective checks on the Commission.
Precisely.
All right, let's move to the supporting cast. These are important mechanisms, often focused on helping individual citizens deal with the big EU bureaucracy. We're looking now at other bodies and agencies.
Right. And first up is the European Ombudsman. This role came in with the Maastricht Treaty in 1992, apparently modeled on a German idea. It's interesting structurally. The Parliament appoints the Ombudsman, but the Ombudsman is completely independent from Parliament.
Independence again. Seems to be a theme. What exactly do they do?
Their job is specifically to deal with cases of bad administration.
Bad administration? Like what?
It could be anything from unfair treatment, discrimination, abuse of power, lack of reply, refusal of information, unnecessary delay, things like that, in the activities of any EU institution, body, office, or agency.
Okay, so they're trying to protect citizens and make the EU administration more transparent and accountable.
That's the aim, yes. Improve protection, enhance transparency, boost democratic accountability.
Sounds important, but reading the notes, there's a catch regarding their power, isn't there? If they find bad administration, can they force an institution to fix it?
Ah, yes, this is the crucial point. The Ombudsman investigates complaints, tries to find a solution, maybe acts as a mediator.
Okay.
And they submit reports, including to the Parliament. But, and this is the catch, those reports are explicitly described in our source material as non-binding.
Non-binding. So they can't order an institution to change its ways.
No. Their power is more about persuasion, recommendation, and crucially, public exposure, shining a light on problems.
So naming and shaming, essentially.
You could put it that way. Their effectiveness comes from their moral authority and getting Parliament or the public interested in fixing systemic issues.
Okay. Interesting. And finally, there's another way for citizens to interact directly with Parliament. Petitions, Article 227 TFEU.
Yes, this is a fundamental democratic right. Any EU citizen, or indeed any person or company residing in a member state, can submit a petition to the European Parliament.
About anything.
About matters that fall within the EU's field of activity and that directly concern the petitioner.
So if I think my country isn't applying an EU environmental law properly and it affects my local area, I could petition Parliament.
Absolutely. The notes say it's often used exactly for that, to complain about breaches of EU law or instances of maladministration, particularly by member states. There's a dedicated standing committee on petitions of the Parliament that handles these. They look into them, draw up reports.
Okay. Sounds like a useful tool, but I sense another but coming. The notes have a comment on effectiveness.
They do. While it's a right enshrined in the treaty, the source material bluntly states it's not a particularly effective instrument.
Ouch. Why not?
The notes don't elaborate much, but it suggests that while you have the right to petition and be heard, actually getting concrete, fast results through this channel might be difficult or slow.
Right. So it exists, It's a right, but maybe don't expect miracles.
Perhaps that's a fair summary based on the notes.
Okay, let's wrap up Section 3. Key terms. Ombudsman dealing with bad administration through non-binding reports. And petitions under Article 227. Exam tip. Notice the contrast. These tools provide democratic access and oversight, but their real power often hinges on persuasion and political pressure, not direct legal enforcement like a court judgment.
Nicely summarized. So we've mapped out quite a bit. The Commission's powerful executive role, its independence, balanced by parliamentary accountability.
Guardian and engine, yeah.
And we've placed the CJEU, ECB, and ECA as these essential constitutional pillars for legal and financial checks and balances.
So for you, the listener, what's the big takeaway? I think recognizing how institutions like the Commission are designed to be independent from national governments, yet directly accountable to the elected parliament, that's really key to grasping the EU's unique supranational way of governing.
Absolutely. But that independence, as we've seen, is always in a kind of tension with political realities. Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to maybe mull over.
Go on.
Our discussion kept highlighting the role of the European Council, the prime ministers and presidents of member states. They were involved and decided to keep one commissioner per state. They proposed the commission president based on election results.
Right, they have a big say.
And the source material even notes that the European Council sometimes influences the whole institutional setup, potentially even affecting the Commission's supposed monopoly on proposing laws.
Interesting. So what's the question for us to consider?
The question is this. In this system that aims for an independent, supranational executive, how much does the day-to-day political will of the member states, acting together in the European Council, really shape or maybe even override what the supposedly independent commission does?
Ah, the classic tension. How much is truly union interest versus the sum of national interest?
Exactly. How much does the political leadership of the member states ultimately steer the ship, even when the commission is meant to have its hands on the wheel? It's that constant dynamic between state power and union integration.
Something to definitely think about well beyond any exam.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the EU's core institutions. We'll catch you next time.